We've got Matt Bron here. Brings more than 2 decades in working on tourism, so I guess tourism experiences, training. Well, he'll explain to you, training other businesses building tourism experiences around Australia. I think I was just saying to Matt beforehand, I've been involved in the craft beer industry more than a decade. I think we've been talking about beer tourism as part of the craft beer's appeal for most of that time. And I think there's some very interesting trails and stuff out there. I still think it's probably an area that hasn't been tapped into fully yet. So hopefully Matt can help us do that. Over to you, Matt.
I probably do need this. G'day, everybody. How are you? Hey, it's good to be here, though, and it's good to see this industry and what it means to people and what it means to you all that are working in it. Tourism is a bit of an interesting egg to crack when it comes to how do we get more of them through, how do we get them to understand what we're doing, how do we get them to love what we're doing. My role at TEQ is very broad. It covers the whole of the state. We work with tourism operators, accommodation, tour operators, restaurants, breweries, distillers, anyone who's interested in getting their business into the market of the tourism industry. And look, it's not too dissimilar to buying or distributing. When it comes to the distribution of alcohol, you need a buyer overseas. So if you really want to get into it, you can start buying your tourists overseas before they even get into the country. But that does cost a lot of money and takes about 3 years to implement. But I've got a little video which will help me get through the 40 minutes. We're going to run that. It just gives you a bit of an overview of a couple of the programs we run and how we can help you as a business operator to get into the tourism industry a bit more. So we'll run the video and then I'll get back into it.
Biki Karumba, and welcome to Queensland, home of the world's oldest living cultures, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples, an extraordinary natural beauty like nowhere else on Earth, including 5 World Heritage Areas. Queensland's story is woven into our landscape, from the rainforest and reef to our beaches and vast outback. This is a story and a place of connection over 65,000 years old, and it's still being written. As the world looks for more purpose, the desire to travel sustainably grows, and respect and appreciation of culture and community deepens. Our brand too evolves. This is Brand Queensland. That's who we are, and we're all a part of this story. It is anchored in our purpose that travel is for good, and that good should be easy, desirable, and benefit all. Our ambition is to lead the way in transformational and regenerative tourism experiences, inspiring travelers to participate and regenerate, positively impacting people and the planet. Home to world-class events and wondrous places, Queensland is positioned to meet and exceed the needs and desires of global travellers, those who seek more than a holiday, those seeking a chance to escape, rejuvenate, and gain new perspectives. Queensland is where they can find true connection and leave restored and renewed through experiences that are good for the self and are good for the world. Those that feed the mind, activate the body, and lift the heart. Experiences that grow community, promote humanity, and care for the planet. Empowering travelers to embrace their role in a changing world, where small actions make a lasting impact, and travelers are forever changed. As Queensland embarks on its golden decade, our opportunity together is to activate Brand Queensland, to engage and inspire people throughout the world. Embracing our renowned icons, the splendour of the Great Barrier Reef, our breathtaking nature, and ageless Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander traditions and cultures. Our promise to be changed by Queensland sits at the heart of our global creative platform, a beautiful way to be, where Queensland is more than a moment or a memory made. It's a feeling, a connection, a place that will change you and eventually the world.
So it makes you pretty happy to be a Queenslander when you see vision and footage like that. And did you notice my voiceover in that? It was pretty good, I thought. You would have seen in that video, and that video, that's not a public video. We don't send that out commercially. It doesn't go on the TV channels. It's more for the industry and our operators to understand how they're part of Brand Queensland. The two fundamental and underpinning elements that we zero in on is travel for good, and travel is for yourself, and travel is for the world. And so tourism's not out of the limelight when it comes to what it means for sustainability, what it means for over-tourism, areas being, ruined by trampling tourists everywhere, rubbish, you name it. We have our fair share of difficult sort of topics to work on. But by empowering our industry to work with us and work on what it means when you're travelling, we can get the tourists and the guests that you all engage with to be part of the message for tourism. So we talk about when you're travelling, you might be purely about yourself. It's all about yourself. You want a holiday. Who doesn't want a holiday? Everyone wants a holiday. That is the one thing that won't change. There's a few randoms out there that say never go on holiday, but apart from them, and their very small market, which we don't look for, everyone wants a holiday, and it's usually about personal gain, feeding your own mind, lifting your own heart, and just getting back to being who you are and yourself. That underpins and drives most of what people think about when they first go on a holiday. Some markets, particularly international markets, are starting to, and we're seeing this rage through Europe at the moment, move into going on a holiday where they can make a difference. Going on a holiday which means a bit more than just jumping on the plane, flopping on the beach. So they're looking for engagement, they're looking to learn, they're looking for ways to understand the environment that they're in and ways that they can give back. And you've all heard about flight shaming over in Europe. I think it's in France. If you catch a plane that's to a location you can get to on a train that's 200k away, you're shamed if you catch the plane. All of this is starting to affect what is the tourism industry. Now, we're a big-ass island at the bottom of the world. We need planes. We're not going to get around that unless there's fast boats. Don't think so. We have to support the aviation industry if we want the tourism industry to thrive in Australia. So a lot of what we are doing now is working with the airlines, with their sustainable fuels and the different types of aircraft that are coming through, which we want to start to promote as being the more green way to travel to Australia. But why am I saying all of this? Well, this is about understanding what your guest wants when they come to your business. Now, if they're all about just chilling out and relaxing, I think you guys have got it pretty covered when it comes to a good fresh brew and a chill out and relax. But you can do a lot more with them, and you can tell a much deeper story about where you've sourced your products, how you got your cans, the way you package, what you're doing for local area charities, community groups, all these things that you might do as a really good person, and you think, no one cares about that. Think again. You have to tell it as part of your story in everything that you do in your business. So the brand framework at Queensland this is what we work to. This is our little in-house guide that we all have on our desk. I've got one above my roof in my bedroom. I go to sleep looking at this every night. No, I don't. I'm tragic, but not that tragic. But there's some fundamentals in here. If we say to people, be changed by Queensland, what does that mean? Come here and, go to the beach, get dumped at Mooloolaba or get dumped down at Talabudra and get sand in your pants. That's not a change. We want people to really connect with Queensland. And we do it through our businesses and the people who speak to tourists every day. But these little beauties here are the ones that I want everyone to zero in on. And they're the beliefs. Now, if you can get this right as an operator, you're going to have people come back time and time again and talk about you time and time again. So, easy. Good should be easy. don't forget how much making things easy for people makes their day in today's society. Think about how hard it is to get here, to get on the road, to get transport. What if they rock up to your place and the first thing that you do isn't say, and we do this to tourism operators, accommodation in particular, we say, if someone walks up to your front counter, don't say, are you here to check in? Because they probably are. Make it a little bit easier for them. If they're driving a caravan, say, hey mate, here's a beer. I'll reverse your van for you into your park. We've got a team who can do that for you. You relax, you've been on the road for a couple of hours. Make it easy. So how can you make everything easy from the minute they see your website to the minute they get to your place to the minute they leave your place? Easy, 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 easy. Good should be desirable. Well, yeah, everyone wants something that they aspire to have. So I know that doesn't make a lot of sense, but you've got to have a desirable image. You've got to set the desirable tone that people are looking for. And then good should benefit all. So after you've had a really easy engagement and you're feeling like, this place is pretty good, I'm going to share it with a few people, make it a bit more desirable for my friends. And then they're starting to pass on the benefit to all. Excuse me, too many coffees. I haven't had beer yet. I will after this. Are they free? Okay, all right. Easy. Yes, that's good. Yeah, it's desirable and it's benefiting all of us today. So if you can just put that in your head when you go back and you're talking to your staff, all we're talking about here is delivering exceptional service. If you can get that bit right, then you can move the guest into thinking a bit deeper about what it is you do. So we do a couple of programs at TEQ. The first one is called the Best of Queensland Experiences Program, and the second one is called the Transformational Experiences Mentoring Program. Now, we do them because we have developed what we're calling our experience design pipeline. And this is taking operators from the basic way to engage and distribute your message in tourism through to how you can generate those desirable transformational experiences. Now, transformational I'm not allowed to say this generally in front of the industry, but at a brewers conference I'm going to say it. It's a wanky word for exceptional service. Transformational experiences is exceptional service. So for Queensland's experience offering to be distinct and differential in a global purpose-driven economy, we need to respond to consumers' needs to drive that future growth. So what are the needs of your guests? And it's different. Look into them. If you know it's a group, if it's a bus, if it's coming from an overseas country, don't all have the same needs. They're all very different. So we use this slide a lot when we're talking to businesses who are probably down around in this space is where they work and spend most of their daily grind trying to make a buck out of tourists. Over on the left, anyone who did any form of marketing, tertiary marketing, would have heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's been around since forever. It hasn't changed and it's still relevant, 100%. When you're thinking about someone or your guest, these are the things they're going to tick off first, and then they're slowly going to start to move into a relaxed space where they're really thinking about what it means. So that's why you move from an experience to a transformational experience. So in this example, and I'll run you through it, we might be able to do an exercise, or think about it as a group of brewers as well, or where you are within the industry. But I'm going on a holiday. I pretty much decided I want an island holiday. That's as far as I've got. I jump online, I start searching for island holidays. So I've found it pretty easy, but not a great experience yet. I'm just dreaming. Excuse me. Once I've decided island holiday, I start, which island? Now that one's Hayman. If you can afford it, good choice. I can't just yet. I think it's Hayman. Yeah, it's Hayman. But anyway, you decide to choose Hayman. So you're now jetting off to Hayman, pretty well known for their service. You'd expect so with the price that you're paying. You land in Hamo, you get on that glorious boat of theirs, and you charter out with a champagne, and you're making your way over to Hayman Island. it's all going pretty well, unless you had a really shit flight into Hamilton Island. And so these guys need to remember that to get to that boat, you may have been through a lot just at that point. So what can they do at that very point of changing the way you might have had a bad experience in the lead up to that? So you're on the boat, you're loving it. Checked in, you've had a night's sleep after your terrible flight, and you're now starting to think about, well, what am I going to do on my holiday? How am I going to make the most of it? So you're relaxed. Your mindset's starting to move into this space. You say, I'll go for a snorkel. So there's nothing amazing about that. Every island lets you go snorkeling. Again, you're not doing anything special. While you're snorkeling, you come across a turtle. It's a big loggerhead. It comes back every year and it nests on the island. And it's an amazing piece of nature to see while you're swimming around. And you start to get those tingles, those moments in life where you get a shiver. Now, I've discovered as I've got older, they're less and less and less. They happen less and less. The tingle shiver goes away, and it's really hard to enjoy things. So when you do get them, you want to know more. So when you get back, you're talking to a staff member and you say, I saw this turtle. Thankfully, the staff member and the whole rest of the group of the staff know about the turtle. They know about where it nests, the type of turtle, the way you can understand what this turtle does, the way you can save the turtles if you want to. And they inform you all about what it is that that amazing animal does and how you can be involved in that animal's future. So then you get home, you keep thinking about that turtle, and to be honest, you tell your grandkids, you tell your kids, and you start to educate them on, well, what does it mean to save marine life and the reef and all these other things. So through your holiday, now this is a perfect example, right? It doesn't work every day. But through your holiday, tourism is helping change perceptions about things. And that's what we hope to do, particularly when we've got the Great Barrier Reef, we've got the amazing outback, we've got the 5 World Heritage Areas, all these things that you can be talking about as part of your business. So, excuse me. So how does this work for a brewery? It's all the same. It's just a slightly different pathway to getting people through to it. So I know, for instance, up on the sunny coast, because I'm halfway to the sunny coast, that there's a ton of them up there. And they're all really good. And they all have their own message, their own story. For me, I love a brewery that talks about its location. It gives me a vibe that while I'm drinking it, that I'm in the same location, if that makes sense. What's the one down here on the Gold Coast? They've got a beer called Tally Days. Yeah. I love that, just that name, because when you're sitting at Tallabudgera on a hot summer afternoon, there is a Days. And if you're having a Tally Days at the same time, I'm feeling those feelings even when I'm not in Tallabudgera. So I can be sitting in the city of Brisbane having a Tally Days thinking about my holiday. So how do you connect, when you're talking to tourists, a memory through what you're brewing as well? Exceptional service, greeting people. If you do have food, how you can book a table, online booking, really crucial. So in this pipeline, I mentioned something called the Australian Tourism Data Warehouse. Now, I had a look online. There's 70 brewers and distillers in Queensland that are currently registered on the Australian Tourism Data Warehouse. It's a library, effectively, where you can list your business for $120, $125 a year, I think, or it's even free at the moment. It's a bit of a COVID thing, but it used to be around about $120, $130 a year. It's the number one first piece of marketing you need to do to get into the tourism industry, because that data then draws into Queensland.com, Australia.com, all of the regional tourism organisations who promote that information about your business gets drawn out of that library. So it's not as just simple as set and forget. You want to update it, change the pictures, change the wording, keep relevant, because search engines are obviously crucial to you maintaining on that first page of the listings in search space. So you work your system, you work it like any other piece of marketing. We then move people into the Best of Queensland Experiences program. Now, this is a bit controversial, if anyone's interested in controversy. We have a set group of criteria that we run for businesses to achieve the Best of Queensland Experiences program status. Now, a lot of businesses at times don't agree with our criteria and believe it's not entirely accurate. And you can't call this bloke over here best of because I'm doing a better job than this bloke over here. So it gets a bit emotional. But how it works, we contract with a company called Review Pro. It's a global review aggregator. So anyone who's ever written anything about your business, they've captured it. It could be from a German market, a French market, an Australian market. They capture all those reviews and it goes into a big algorithm of positive and negative sentiment and 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 star ratings. If you get 25 or more reviews a year, there's enough reviews for us to be able to get an understanding of where your business is sitting on a consumer mindset. And they base it out of 100. So they call it your Global Review Index, your GRI. The GRI is, as I said, you might get 80, 85, 90. It's just how consumers are writing about you and seeing about you. The powerful thing about it is if you're a manager and you've got a lot of staff, you can look back across the course of a year and start to see trends in the sentiments. It could be dirty toilet, grumpy staff, or amazing staff. Another way you can reward your staff. We take that GRI, we gather that up, and if you get 80 and above in your GRI score, we give you 60 points. If you've got an online booking system for guests to be able to book with you in advance of arriving, because it's really crucial in the tourism industry, consumers want to be able to book. And it's bloody good for cash flow, and it's bloody good for programming ahead as well, if you can see. So if you've got restaurants or tours or anything that you sell that could be booked, get an online booking system. So we give 15 points for that. Your use of social media. Now, most of you guys would realise that you're in the brewing industry, social media is going to get you word of mouth. It's free word of mouth, essentially. We also use another company to assess, I guess, just a set of standard inconsistency on how you do your social media. Because consistency is the key to social media. You can't do one post every 6 weeks, one post every 3 months, and then 5 the next week. Consistency we look for. That's another 15 points. And then we give 5 points for if you're engaged with your tourism industry network. That's getting involved in your regional tourism organisation, your local tourism organisation, etc. And then there's a whole whack of accreditation out there. Sustainable, ecotourism. You'd all have to go through it to be able to sell beverages. We look for any accreditation that you might have as well to add those extra points. That gives you a score out of 100. So we've got 7,000 businesses across the state in the ATW. We've now got a way of understanding who's doing the basics really well. And it gives us a list across the state so we can start to prioritise who we work with, when we work with, etc. We then take a bespoke group from each regional tourism organisation and we take them through the transformational experiences mentoring. These are the guys getting 95 to 100 points a year who really want to step it up, into this space in delivering what they do for their guest. So that's the really key part, and that's a really intensive one-on-one mentoring program where you get to step outside your business and start to focus in on some of these changes. So that's what we call our experience design pipeline, and as I said, there's 7,000 operators in the system that get a report, whether they want it or not. That's the controversial bit, because if you suddenly get a report from the government that says, you know, you got 25 out of 100 and it's got the word government attached to it, you can imagine it stirs up a bit of emotion. How dare they even choose to do that? But it's a business tool. It's a free business tool. And it's a hell of a good insight into some of the things that you might be missing going on in your business. Would have been good if I put that up before, hey? There are the points. So 60, as I said, for your consumer review, 15 for online booking, 15 for consistency in social media, 5 for regional tourism memberships and connections, and accreditation. So overall, in the year 2023, 4,296 operators were assessed. We lost a lot of operators during COVID, and 2,130 operators identified as best of Queensland experiences who are doing it right. So around about half. So my job is to grow that basic stuff up. The transformational guide, as I said, it's a one-on-one mentoring system. You get 14 hours of mentoring over a 10-week period with that coach. And it really is, at times, you might think, I just do not have the time to do this, and that's okay. We have other inputs throughout the year. But if you really want to get involved, got around about 100% satisfaction, and we've completed, we've been going for 3.5 years. We've done about 450 operators so far. So it takes a lot longer. So, importantly, who wants to talk about the tourism industry that I haven't touched on there? There's a hell of a lot more we could go into. I could go into how to get a hold of the market before it comes into the country, touring, how to engage with your accommodation providers. Any questions that have come up at all in that little insight?
I've got roving Mike here. Questions?
One of the things, a personal experience. So I was down in Sydney staying with my son a couple of weekends ago, and there's a thing down there called the Inner West Ale Trail. And that seems to be something that's really well done and so on. I know there's a bit of that in Queensland. What is happening in that space, and what can we all do to make it a better space, and there's more opportunity for that to occur?
Yeah, cool. I'll jump around the slides to help answer the questions, but when it comes to developing trails, people often say to me, why do I have to be a member of my regional tourism organisation? So why am I a member of Visit Sunshine Coast or Experience Gold Coast? That little section there. It's because those regional tourism organisations are charged with taking all that idea that comes out of that cluster of product and making it into something bigger than the individual product. So it gets born from a community level. There's a desire from enough people to get it rolling. And if it can make its way into a development space with your regional tourism organisation, it can then start to ramp up to state level management. Now, within the ATDW, your RTO can also load trails within that system and within that library, so that any information about touring product or trails or free things that are going on in your areas, they also develop that. So some people go into membership with RTOs and go, I pay $350 a year and they don't give me jack shit. And I say to them, well, you're probably also a member of ROCQ. And it didn't give you jack shit last year either until your car broke down. So think about your membership with your RTO as you being involved in the bigger picture. And if it grows from the grass and through those networking nights they have and those ideation sessions, that's how the system's meant to work and feed right up to the state level. That sort of answer it? It's a community effort.
Anyone else? Yes? Thought you might, Josh.
Hey Matt, Josh from Sunshine Coast Craft Beer Tours. We've got a great industry on the Sunshine Coast and really well supported by our RTO. I guess my question's more on a top level down. I mean, looking at the TQ do great video presentations. We see a lot of information about experiences and how businesses can grow, but often breweries aren't in that. And that first video is great. I've seen it a bunch of times. At what level is craft beer and distilleries and incorporating that in trails, like this gentleman mentioned, at what space does that sit in strategy from the top down? Because that's a great incentive for brewers to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to jump onto ATDW. I'm going to do Best of Queensland. Yep. What sort of top down support do you think there is for now and in the future?
Well, there certainly has been bits and pieces and I've been around for a while. There used to be a tourism niche section at TQ called Food and Wine Experiences Tourism Development. There's an emphasis that's just come out. We recently did our blueprint to industry for the roadmap to 2032, and we've got an emphasis and a focus on promoting Queensland and the food and the beverage experiences that exist within Queensland across the state. So we've got a renewed energy in that topic, which is positive because it comes and goes. it's probably in the past been driven a hell of a lot off the wine industry. And I think there's enough going on. And I looked up the data. There's 70, as I said, 70 operators across the state in this space. Of that, around about, I'd have to look at the stats, but when it comes to sort of doing the best of Queensland part right, it wasn't half, basically. So we've got a bit of grassroots work to do to get, I guess, businesses more engaged with their RTO, more engaged in the bigger voice. So that's the bottom up. If that bottom up can start to happen, we know we're developing a more focused statewide message around the food and beverage experiences in Queensland moving to 2032. We're working with Agri-Tourism Department of Ag. You guys have been sponsored by Department of Water and local government, I think. So interestingly, we've got the Tourism Department. You guys are lumped in the water and local government section, I think. And then you've got Department of Agri and Fisheries who are also working on the food and agri-tourism side of the things. So across government, we've got 3 different massive departments all dabbling in and around this space. So a big part of what we're trying to do is to bring that together and the power of what that investment might mean into the marketing promotion. Our guests that come to Queensland are surprised by how good it is. And we know that there's a massive gap in what we're doing to set their expectation before they get here as a conversion piece. And Matt Stokel's driving our backsides on that as we speak. I only saw him last week. And he was very, very happy to hear that when our CEO spoke down in Brisbane the other day, that there's a focus on food and beverage in our messaging moving forward. So you do a great job up there on the sunny coast. You're probably sick of being applauded, but it is good. It's going really well up there. So a bit of a standout for Queensland.
One from me. I mean, do you think there are, like, so that there are these trails like, you know, well, the craft beer capital thing there in the west. There's one in Collingwood, Abbotsford. Is there like a stage you can go to beyond that in terms of beer tourism taking? I guess that's how you maybe get the awareness of the state government or beyond, is by being bigger beyond that, or is craft beer sort of at a stage where you think it needs to focus on local experiences before it can think too far ahead about how do we tell the craft beer tourism story on a bigger level? Yeah,
I mean, the option's there. I say it warily because of the investment it takes to get into the bigger stage. 5 minutes. We have this big conference a year. It's called the Australian Tourism Exchange. Every buyer from across the globe comes in and would sit down. I don't know if you've done it before. Would sit down and you would try to get into their packaging in an overseas market space. So there wouldn't be, I don't think, too many brewers doing that yet. But if we can get the masses up there wanting to do that, then it does start to show a message that Queensland is on sale overseas in this space. But they want deals, right? They want commission. So the minute someone sits down and says, yes, you can have 50 of my guests a year come to you, but I want 30% of the entire tour package, often our negotiations break down at that point because the packaging and the pricing and I guess the trade ready and development ready for that market hasn't been done with the operator. So we try to get operators through domestic and travel trade ready training before that to build those commission levels into it so that you're not going in blind and they're taking a clip of your ticket and then you end up not making any money. So it's a big space. It took a mega hit through COVID. It is absolutely ramping back up at a rate of knots as we speak. But everybody in the world at the moment is trying to get back into the travel trade distribution system. So we're under a really tough pressure to get back, basically. Tourism Australia did their Taste of Australia thing. You'd recall that 10 years ago, roughly. Was really high-end stuff. I think we've got a place or a space to play, probably not at that such aspirational level, but more at that local and domestic level as well. So, you know, it is a big part of what you do on holidays now, eat and drink. It always was, But now it's actually an experience that people look for when they're on holidays, more so than just something you have to do. I mean, I would get a cream bun every day after a surf. That was my food and wine experience. Now it's, out to all the hinterland locations on the tours, and spending a whole day of it. So it has really come a long way. But we've got to be on sale overseas.
Maybe you need to revisit the cream buns to get the tingles back. Maybe that's what.
Maybe, mate. Thank you for having me.
A couple of minutes left. Any more questions? Yep. Okay.
I said thank you too early. No, nearly got out of it.
I'm a bit rogue anyway. I'm
not at
actually from Tasmania.
Love it. I'm catching up with your ex-CEO next week for coffee. Tourism Tasmania, Johnny Fitz.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I know John really well.
Yeah.
Sarah, who's the new CEO, is doing a wonderful job already.
Came out of Intrepid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my brewery is actually, I'm from Moo Brew. We're actually owned by David Walsh, who's the founder of Mona.
Yep.
And so we play heavily in the tourism space as well, which has been an advantage for our brewery, no doubt.
Yep.
But we've just opened our first tap house. And so we're playing in probably non-commissionable spaces mostly at the moment. But I'm just out of interest in the tourism space in Tassie at the moment. We're talking a lot about equal access travel and making sure that your experience is more equal access friendly.
Yes.
And the dollars that go unspent, certainly in Tasmania and no doubt nationally for that traveller. Have you got any insights, I guess,
I do.
on that space?
I do. I mean, and I've probably got 2 minutes. Is that all right? 2. When you say equal access, you mean accessible to all? Yes. This just so happens I head up the team's project at TQ at the moment on the Year of Accessible Tourism and what we're doing in Queensland around that space. So, no, well, it sounded like it, but it's a big thing for us. And the important part that you just touched on is that it's an economic market that people should be targeting. It's absolutely something you should be doing just out of being a good community. But don't dismiss the fact that people who do have a disability are a high-yielding market and they expect a fantastic service and they will reward you with that if you give them the needs that they require, if you take care of the needs that they need to get into the experience. So August 28, our Year of Accessible Tourism campaign starts. So we're a week away from a whole range of podcasts that we've done, a whole integrated campaign with a couple of travel wholesalers to sell accessible-only product. We're working really closely in this space with the airlines, the government. Importantly, it's not just a year of accessible tourism for us anymore. This is the beginning of change and equal access. And they talk about, the classic example we use a lot now is you go to a big stadium to see the Matildas, and someone in a wheelchair does have every easy access piece to get in and sit on the concourse and watch the game, but their family are down 3 or 4 rows below them. So this is about creating spaces and zones for everybody to be involved and included. So inclusivity is coming out in it as well. And we really learn a lot by starting this. If the best thing it did for TQ and Queensland Government was to teach us what we didn't know, then that's the best and first step that our team have noticed. And we're slowly but surely inviting industry along on that journey as well. And we've got grants out there to help with infrastructure changes you might need. And for the other disabilities that, it's not just all wheelchair, for all the other needs that people have, we're educating industry on what they all are as well. So it's a big journey we've just started. And I think it probably came to light when the Commonwealth Games were on in 2018 on the Gold Coast, just how far behind we were in knowledge. It's taken us a little while, but the Olympic 2032 goal is really where we want to make this thing hum. So, yeah, we're doing a lot. Thanks for having me.
Go get your beer now. Yes.